Okay, we're going to get started here. I apologize for the late announcement about the live lecture schedule change today. We originally do meet at 4:30 Mountain Standard Time. So 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, it would be 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 would be 6:30 would be Eastern Standard Time. Sorry, it's been a day. But I've been having issues in my apartment. We've had some power outages. And I was afraid that we just had, one of those big snowstorms come through, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to maybe squeeze in the lecture tonight. So I'm going to pre-record this, and that way you guys can get started with your, keep going with your projects. You won't have to worry about if my power goes out tonight and just kind of stretching out the long lecture, because I had no Wi-Fi yesterday, and it just was kind of a nightmare, and I don't want to experience that again. So, and this was earlier in the day. But hopefully you guys are doing really well and you're getting started with your projects. And for those of you who could not make it in the live lecture last night, hopefully you were able to review the lecture recording. We went over pretty much a lot of the things that the overview of assignment 1, and I kind of discussed the template that I provided, the optional template. So if you didn't quite look through the whole or review the whole demonstration, I would advise you to do so. It will save you time in the end, maybe answer a lot of questions as well. If you guys have anything that you want me to review, go ahead and send it off to me. I know because I'm not doing this live, you can't bring in your work, so go ahead, send me your work if you want me to, take a look. If you're on the right track, I'll let you know. All right, so going forward here, some of this is kind of a recap on the agenda. We already kind of did intro and announcements as of last night. Don't forget to post your intro to the boards. And I know you guys are, it's pretty redundant. Every time you have a class, you have to do that. But I may not know you. I may not have had you in past classes. You may not be familiar with students who are in this class. So it's always good to, post your intro so that we can all understand who you are and answer the questions provided in the introduction in regards to advertising, just to get, it gives me an insight on, where you're going in regards to how you can use this in your future. And, don't forget, even though we're online and this is not in a class situation when we're going actually physically in class, we are still networking. So even outside of class, when you guys graduate, you are alumni. So, keeping in touch with each other, linking up, make sure that you network with each other, because you have no idea in the future, what opportunities could come about with former alumni. All right, class discussion. We talked about this last night, advertising effects. Week 1 review we did last night, and in the lecture yesterday, campaign choices and ideas. We're going to go over branding, integrated branding promotion, look at a branding video, creative concept, creative brief review, mood boards. We talked a little bit about that last night, ad campaign information, print versus online advertising, color psychology video, and questions and answers, which you guys obviously aren't going to be in here live. So if you have any questions going forward, please just email me, reach out to me. Okay, I'm actually drinking tea because I'm still a little sick, so you might hear me kind of pause every once in a while. All right, so just a little review discussion. What are your impressions of advertising in daily life? What part has advertising played in your purchase or selection of products or services? And what is your attitude towards advertising, positive or negative? And some of those things that you can hit upon within your discussion. Okay, sorry, a little sneeze there. So don't forget to post that discussion initial post as soon as possible. I believe, what is today? Today is Wednesday. So yeah, have that in. My days are all kind of rushing today. So just mishmashing together for me this week. So make sure you get that initial post in before midnight, Mountain Standard Time tonight, for possible full credit. All right. So research is key. We talked about this last night. Research is key in regards to your first process steps going forward. Research design elements, and this all kind of plays a part in that template that I showed you last night, to research colors, typography, maybe even other brands, campaign examples, just different ideas that you can kind of grab from other resources that are aligned with the brand, with the actual client that you chose, that are aligned with that similar brand. So design elements is definitely something you want to research, so that you're visually speaking to the correct target audience and aligning those elements with the brand correctly and appropriately. You don't want to use an inappropriate color or, design elements that may not align with the brand, because, obviously there will be a disconnect, and it won't succeed in communicating to the target audience and representing the brand as well. Competitors. And we talked about this last night. Look up, once you decide on who you're going to design for, who would be their competitors? And this is something that you have to think up on your own. We don't give this information to you. If you were in a client situation and you really didn't truly know who the competitors were at the time, this is something you would definitely inquire with the client. You would say, hey, who would you consider your biggest competitors? Once they tell you, that's when you go in and do your own research. What works for these competitors, what doesn't work, what makes them so special versus what you're designing for, the brand that you're designing for. Does the brand that you design for have a niche compared to the others? And then you want to play upon that. So that's why research is key, because you might miss vital information if you go, just kind of rushing through and don't really look into competitors. Also, you want to align your campaign to work for your brand. You don't want it to be a similar campaign as everybody else. If your competitors are running a very similar campaign, yours might get lost. It might not be memorable anymore. So you want to make sure that what has been done before, you're not repeating. You're only being inspired by what works and kind of doing something different and unique, so that it is memorable and not the same old campaign that was done before. And I think that's the design challenge too. What can you do that's different yet still aligns with the brand? What's the area? Last night I was talking about Discovery Island, and that was in Florida. Thinking about that, it's always good to kind of know what the area is, where the specific brand is, so that you get a general sense of, okay, are people coming from the actual in-town local area or local cities to come to this particular establishment, or is it kind of universal where everybody's coming from everywhere? And that's a big deal, because your target audience then changes from being more localized to more universal. So you want to kind of keep that in mind when you're going forward with that. Target audience, this is where that will kind of come into play. Do you have a target audience that's kind of global, or maybe more local or national or something like that? So, and then kind of whittling it down to the actual person that you're talking to, their characteristic traits or personalities. Where would you see them hang out or during the weekend, kind of stuff. So you can kind of really have fun with that. You can get really detailed and specific. And the more specific that you are, the better, because then you can understand who the target audience is. So when you start designing for the campaign, you can use specific slogans that speak to that target audience. Maybe there's something that, and it could be kind of like a fad or a trend that's out there right now, where you're using abbreviations or, hashtag or something like that. Those types of trendy keywords that you could use now that would work for that target audience, if that's the case, and it aligns and it's an appropriate type of slogan. And that's the thing that goes with trends. What's going on now that you see that works. And brands like to kind of follow each other. If it works, and other brands kind of copy that same method, and there's a reason for that. It works, so they're just kind of piggybacking on that. And yeah, I mean, obviously it could take away from the uniqueness of it, but then again, if it's done kind of in a different way, but still kind of keeping that same theme, that same trend, you definitely can be still successful. Research deliverables. You know, you want to start thinking about just all the deliverables that you guys will be doing. You know, research what those deliverables look like, and what other brands, how they have designed on those certain deliverables, or, you know, designed those deliverables, so that you can have a better understanding of what it looks like, how it's used, so that you can execute your campaign perfectly based upon the seasons and the events going on within your brand. Advertising strategies, this is something you need to be thinking about in the beginning. Discussion 1 dives heavily into this, so that's good. So starting with the discussion is definitely recommended before going into the assignment 1, because you guys will be researching different strategies that you can possibly use for your campaign going forward. So what is your advertising strategy going to be? You know, look through all of the different strategies. Which one would best communicate and persuade the target audience for that particular brand? You know, some may not work for the particular brand, so you have to kind of really weigh your options. Campaign choice. Which client did you choose? You know, thinking about that. And I said this yesterday, make sure you choose one that you're generally interested in. I think I was talking to a student that said she had a fear of skiing. So if that's the case, she probably isn't involved in the in that type of recreational activity. I don't know if this person would definitely be able to do a campaign. They may. I mean, it's definitely a challenge if you decide to do that. You know, I'm saying, hey, you know, if you want to challenge yourself, go for it. But I think sometimes if we decide to do that, we have to be very careful, because if we're not interested in it generally, then we might not put as much energy into it. And I know when you're in the real world, you don't really get the choice, but you do now. So I would say go for the one that you believe you're most interested in, okay? Because typically you don't really have a choice. Why did you choose this client? You know, I'm thinking about that. You know, was it something that you're generally interested in? Is it something you have experience in? Do you enjoy doing this activity? Have you gone to these types of establishments? You know, what was your experience? Are you the actual target audience? You could be the target audience for this particular establishment. So that's definitely something to think about. What strategies do you think you might use? So you might want to jot down, if you're really having an issue trying to think of which strategies, maybe a top 3, and then kind of whittle it down from there. If you're really struggling, you might want to do pick out 2, and then, you know, start thinking of slogans or ideas, and then you might find that you might go more towards one than the other. So thinking about that, that's kind of what you guys should be kind of starting with. Brand marketing. So brand marketing, what is it? Brand marketing is the process that companies use to keep the public aware of their brands and features through marketing, so that consumers will continue to buy their products. Brand marketing includes logo, symbol, or slogan used by a company. So this is basically like recognition. You know, you keep that logo, keep that brand in front of the target market. You know, logos popping up in everywhere you see, whether it be TV, print, you know, commercial, when you're walking into a store. Company's brand represents their market identity, who they are, what they do, what kind of quality they provide, their reputation for trustworthiness, and more. So they're basically wanting to gain your trust, your loyalty, and they're going to do anything that they can to get you to buy into their brand. They want you to be a loyal customer. That's kind of the goal. So having their brand out there as much as possible in certain target areas is based upon what it is key for recognition. So some brand marketing tips: pick a unique name that can be trademarked. And this is when you're starting a brand. This isn't basically what you guys are going to be doing because your logos are already chosen and you already have a client. But if you were starting from scratch, pick a unique name that can be trademarked. You know, sometimes you have to do some research to see if that name was chosen. You need to go up to the trademark website, type in the words that or the names that you're thinking about, and see if those are actually trademarked before going forward. Because you can get in some big trouble if you use a name that's already out there and it's trademarked and you're using it for a real brand and you're making money off of it, or you're helping somebody to make money off of it, you can get in big time trouble and you could definitely get sued and I'll have all kinds of issues. So, you know, making sure you kind of check to see if that's trademarked is key. And then also trademarking it if that's kind of the option that you want to do and want to kind of protect the brand for yourself or your client. Develop a simple and coherent branding message. Think just do it or I'm loving it. Just do it for Nike. I'm loving it. McDonald's. So, you know, it's funny because, you know, you just say those slogans and I know who that brand is. So it's so powerful, you know, just very simple 3 words that can sum up a brand or a branding campaign, something to definitely keep that in mind and stuff that you guys should be looking at for your campaign for this project. Don't be boring. Make your name, tagline, logo interesting. You know, you don't want it to be too plain and boring. That's kind of the key. You want it to be simple, but not plain. Okay. So you don't want to be too boring, but you want it to be simple and memorable, just like with logos when you design logos. First impressions are important. Invest in a good business card and professional logo. You know, you really want to think about that. Sometimes if you're not really thinking about that and you have a great company, a brand that you spent a long time establishing and the logo is awesome, and then you go to put it on different applications and they're not very quality-wise, very successful, then that could really kind of degrade the actual brand because people are going to look at that and say, this looks like there's not much thought put into this, or the quality of this really isn't that great. So I wonder if the quality of the brand is even that great. So they're going to associate it with that. So if you have a good professionally printed deliverables, printed ones, like for instance, a business card, and you put time and thought into the presentation, the look of it, the maybe even the card stock that you put it on, that definitely goes a long way. Display your brand a lot. You know, this is kind of key to recognition. Get a URL. This is kind of part of the trademark thing. You want to, what I usually do when I start a brand from scratch, and I've done this with a business and I'll show you the brand that I'm talking about. Once you get a name established, you want to just start looking for a URL that you can grab. You know, nothing is worse when you create a name for a brand and then you go to find the URL, everything's chosen. You know, it's just kind of like, so you want to make sure those 2 line up. Get into digital marketing, Twitter, Facebook, etc. You know, definitely social media, digital marketing is huge. It kind of covers a lot of target audiences now that are more modern, up to date, people who are there online and the websites are very easily accessible. So that's a very easy way to get free ad space or recognition. Find your company's value proposition, what makes your company product special or better, and market that. So, you know, if your client or you're creating this business, what's the niche behind that? How are you different? You should have something that's special and different and play upon that. That's your value. Know your competition. Again, who are the competitors so that you can align your brand appropriately. You know, you don't want to be way out of, you know, off a track in regards to people not really knowing what the brand is because you decided to go completely opposite of what other brands are. You want to make sure it's aligned with the same brands, your competition, but you want yours to stand out, I guess I should say, so that, you know, they understand the brand and what it is, yet it looks, you know, new and, you know, I guess better, you know, in regards to other competitors. Consistency is key, definitely. Same logo, tagline, consistency, and ad campaigns. This is going to be huge. This is going to be one of the things I'm going to be really looking for and evaluating your work on. You want to make sure when you see the different deliverables that they all are consistent, and they don't have to look exactly the same, but the mood is the same. The theme is the same. It's a story. You're telling a story. So if I were to look at, let's say, your, I think you guys are doing your publications, your e-publications. If I'm looking at that and then I look at your bus wrap and they look completely opposite in terms of the overall consistency of the theme, there's a disconnect. People aren't going to understand that this is like, one campaign, one story. So make sure that you are keeping it consistent. I'm going to show you real quick now that we are talking about this. Go to my Behance here, because we're talking about coming up with a name, making sure the name is good as far as a brand goes. Okay, so this is my Behance page. This is just some of my recent work in here. You can definitely take a look. But this project, Modal 3, is one that I worked with a client in Cleveland, and from scratch. It was a startup company, and I worked with the owner, the president, on coming up with not only just a branding campaign, but also a name. So we both brainstormed up a name, and that's kind of where we came up with. And so this is the logo that once we got the name done and, obviously trademarked, the URL was picked. I created the logo. It was a very long process for the logo. So it's not something that I just quickly did. But it takes, the process takes a while for creating logos. But once that's done, then business cards can be created. These are the business cards that I created for that. So you'll see a common theme, campaign theme, and that's why I wanted to show you this too. So this is the front and the back of the business card. Favicon with website. I actually designed the website. See how the design of it, the colors, the mood of it is all very cohesive and consistent. This is the web page here, and this is sustainable spaces that this particular brand is about. So using these storage units and kind of to create this community or houses. All right, so this is just some of the web pages, but you can see it's very consistent color-wise, design-wise, and then we get right into the advertisements. And these are the ads that I created, and you'll notice how they have a theme. Modal 3 homes, a smarter way to live, web address, call out, and I did the 1/3 design there with the product on the top and the logo as the shout, the call out. Same thing. Theme is the same. Layout is the same. Color is the same. The only thing that changes is the wording here. So it goes from Modal 3 homes, a smarter way to live, to less expensive than a conventional built home. The picture changes. That's the only two things that change. And these ads could run into online different places or in print in different places. Here's a third one, stronger than a conventional housing structure and safer, showing you a different picture. Save the environment and heating, cooling costs. So all these headlines here are focused on what's important to the target audience. So speaking to the target audience, and also visually pulling them in with nice visuals that it's cohesive with the brand and pulls the eye into it. Container sizes allow homes to be easily expandable. A lot of research done in this, and here's millions of containers are available around the globe. I also did an infographic. This would be something that could also be into the marketing deliverables that, if let's say a salesman were to go out and try to get investors or even regular people who want to buy into one of these particular spaces, this is an easy sheet to say, hey, this is why it's better. This is 5 facts that a container home is better than a conventional home. So it's a nice visual and verbal way to kind of link those facts into why you should buy into their actual brand. I also did window decals, something to get that logo out there, recognition. So, you know, definitely can be on cars, bus wraps, truck wraps, I should say. So this is a campaign. This is what a campaign would look like. Okay, so I wanted to show you the theme. And it doesn't necessarily have to have, you know, an actual story, but, you know, as long as you're speaking to the target audience, you get the same consistent look and feel. You know, that's kind of what we're looking to do for this project too. You can make it like a story too. You can kind of make it funny and, you know, witty and stuff like that. So integrated branding promotion. Essentially, it is a consistent message and brand development over multiple mediums, TV, radio, web. So you can integrate it in different applications and mediums. Method of coordinating your message and your value proposition across all elements of marketing mix. In the age of social media and mobile tech, business owners have unprecedented control over message delivery and brand development. So you just have so many options out there. You know, it's just so many options. You have YouTube, you have Instagram, I mean, all kinds of different social media options to get your brand out there. All right, let me open this up here. You guys can see. Okay, this first video I'm going to share here about branding. Okay, pretty cool. I really like that video. It really kind of explains a lot of different facets of branding. I love the fact that it actually mentioned too, like certain brand names that we use just in a general sense, like Kleenex. I'm going to Kleenex. Well, Kleenex is a brand. It's not really actually called Kleenex. It's tissues. And then Photoshop this. People are actually wanting to just, manipulate a photo, but they use Photoshop, the brand name. So it's kind of interesting to see how integrated some brand names are, because they become so recognized and so used, and sometimes very universally, that we use it just in common explaining of things. So pretty interesting. Here's another video real quick here, another 4-minute one. And then we'll go forward here.
What is a brand? A brand is the difference between a pair of running shoes and a pair of Nikes. A brand is what people feel about you, your product, the service you provide, or your organization. It's part rational, but mostly emotional. People will forgive a strong brand if it makes a mistake. Remember New Coke? Likewise, people won't forgive a weak brand if it makes a mistake. Remember Gateway Computers? We thought so. So, what is the secret of a strong brand? The answer is surprisingly simple. Focus. I'll say it again. Focus. Great brands stand for something. Not a lot of things. One thing. For decades, Swedish car maker Volvo defined their brand with a single word: safety. Well, it seemed to work for them. Sometimes you have to think beyond the category to know what you stand for. Harley-Davidson makes motorcycles. Want to guess what they stand for? Freedom. Not a more powerful engine, not a more reliable bike or a smoother ride. Freedom. Brands are experiential. Take Starbucks. They differentiate themselves in many ways and offer a consistent brand experience in every Starbucks you visit. They even have their own language. Starbucks has created a unique community of coffee lovers that speak Starbucksese and are true brand ambassadors. It doesn't get any better than that. Starbucks had realized they weren't in the business of serving coffee. They were in the business of serving people. So, can you put a monetary value on a brand? The people at Interbrand Research can. Remember the fine folks at Coca-Cola we mentioned earlier? Care to guess what their brand is worth? That's right. According to Interbrand, about 61% of the value of the Coca-Cola Corporation is brand. That's a lot of cash. Here's the monetary value of some other brands you'll be familiar with. So a brand is worth protecting and nurturing. But how? Here are a few key points to help maintain or even grow your brand. 1. Be different. The world is filled with parody products and services. Make yours stand out. 2. Be vigilant. Don't allow your brand to do things it shouldn't. Don't be the Gateway Computers of your category. 3. Be relevant. The marketplace changes constantly. Make sure your brand keeps up. So, who really owns a brand? The brand manager? The VP marketing? Brands are owned by the people. It used to be a company would tell people about their brand. It was pretty much a one-way thing. Now, it is much more of a conversation. But don't worry, this instant feedback can be very useful. It gives you a glimpse into what's in the hearts and minds of your customers and allows you to take action when you need to. It can also help you stay focused, and that's a good thing. So let's recap. A brand is much more than your logo or the color of your truck fleet. It's something intangible. It's what people think of you, but mostly on an emotional level. Great brands are focused. They stand for something. Great brands are not just seen and heard, they're experienced, and in a way that is uniquely theirs. A brand can have tremendous value and should be treated that way. Keep your brand healthy by being different, vigilant, and relevant. And finally, never forget that people, your customers, own your brand. Listen to them, respect them, most of all, earn their trust.
Okay, so that was a really good video on brand and what branding is. 'Cause I think sometimes we get confused. When we think about branding, we think automatically like a logo, but it really isn't just about a logo. And just like you saw in those videos, it's more than that. It's more of an emotive feeling and being part of something. So, thinking about that, think about how you can speak to your audience, how you can forward your brand with your campaign so that, you know, you're properly aligning it towards and speaking to the appropriate target audience. Very interesting. All right. Let's get into the other information, the creative brief. I talked about this a little bit last night. This can be the beginning of your design process. So the creative brief is a document in writing that defines the scope of the project from designer to client. It defines what is being created, why create it, objectives of creation. So what's the problem here? What are you trying to solve? Is kind of what you're answering in the creative brief. The information that you're gathering from the client should be in the creative brief. So what to include? Who is the client, contact person, contact company information, all inclusive. When's the due date? When is the deliverable going to be delivered? Very important so you can stay on task and so that you can properly strategize what needs to be done first, second, third, and obviously plan it with vendors and all of the other launching possibilities. Budget, how much is this all going to cost? Be on the same page with your client. You don't want any kind of miscommunications towards the end or during the time frame that you're creating and getting in put time into this project that you're putting a lot of hard work into. You want to make sure you have no hiccups. So having this written in your creative brief and having it signed off, and agreed upon is very important. Main objective. So what's the problem here that you're trying to solve? What is the client needing? What problem are they trying to resolve there? Target audience. This is something, if you don't know, you need to ask the client and get that specific within your brief. Timeline. You might have different time frames for when you want to show your client roughs or mock-ups, and you have the deadline, so you can kind of properly plan out your timeline of when they'll see certain progress reports, so that you're on the right track. You're not just starting it and then giving the final the final product at the end. You want to make sure that you're meeting different goals, whether it be talking to the printer and sending it to the printer, to sending roughs to the client to look before they approve, stuff like that. Having an objective, so a concise statement of the effect the material should have on consumers, typically expressed as an action and frequently focused either on what you want them to think, to feel, or to do. So, the objective of one of your seasonal events could be, wanting families to come experience, skiing during a certain event. What you want them to think, feel, you can have a great experience, have fun, some stuff like that. You be very specific with that. A call to action. This needs to be clearly defined before you can begin a project. What is the call to action? Do you want them to look into their website? Do you want them to sign up for a membership? Do you want them to buy a product? Do you want them to call a number to buy a product? Do you want them to find out more information? So all of that is something to think about. What's your call to action? Or just even to come to the park. If you're doing if you're doing like the ski establishment or the Discovery Island and the zoo, you want people to come and see the establishment. You want them to come. So what's the call out for that? If the client does not know the purpose of a project, find out how its effectiveness be measured. So, sometimes clients are like, well, we're not sure. We want our brand to be out there, but we're not sure the purpose of it. You want to make sure it's what you're doing is going to be effective, and what they're offering is going to be effectively communicated. What is the most important message you want to convey? Is there something that the client wants to be communicated first? So there's usually a hierarchy of ideas there. So do they want people to just come to the park, or do they want people to find out more, and give money to their, establishment or something like that? Do they want to raise awareness about something? So there's different messages that you want to think about. What's the most important that they want you to convey? Design elements. So when we go forward after researching, design elements is something that you want to think about. Colors, fonts, examples, competitor, trends, examples, copy, branding, objectives. And again, this is all in your template that I provided that you can definitely put in when you're doing your research. All right, here's some examples here. Okay, this first link I'm going to open up here is just showing you a creative brief template review. So, creative briefs are really up to you and how you want to design it. And they can be different each time. But this is just showing you different creative briefs that people have. There's one, kind of different templates here. Oh, let's see if I can click on this. So this is an example of one creative brief. And like I said, you don't have to have yours look like this, but this is how they have this set up. So title, product is, the brand is, what key business challenge does the brand face? Who are we trying to engage and what competes for their attention? What's the rule for communication? Where and when will communication have most power? And how does the category engage creatively? And how could we challenge this practically? So, depending on the client, this could definitely be different and be geared towards more of the client, the actual client. Let me see if you guys saw that actually. Here's another one where it's 2 pages. Let me zoom in here. Creative brief, a client, medium, deadline, task, thought, and because. Describe the audience. Why aren't they doing what we want them to do? What should they do? Or why should they? Describe the brand character we want, and what must the advertising include? So this is a very simple one, to say the least. Example. Some of these links aren't working here, so I'm going to hold on. Creative brief. There's definitely, software that you can get that actually has creative briefs, templates that you guys can get a hold of. But this is kind of nice because it breaks it down with objective background, objective target audience, and gives you some ideas to think about. Who are they? Where are they? How we communicate with them. So it should be included in there. And those are examples there. Okay, it looks like the other 2 links aren't working here. So, but anyway, you can definitely research different creative briefs too on your own, just to kind of get an idea of, just different types and what's involved in each one. Okay, so do your research. Again, demographics, client research. What's the area like? Where the client, research what the client has. If they're an already established brand, like say for instance Discovery Island, they're already established, but you just got the job to do a campaign theme for them this year, but they've had some in the past. You want to make sure you see what their past campaigns look like, so that your understanding of maybe what they are lacking for the future campaign, maybe what works. And it's just good to see kind of what they've used in the past. So always ask the client if they're not a startup, and they don't, obviously if they're a startup, they don't have anything to show you. But if they already established, they've already had marketing done and ad campaigns done, get that information, have them give you examples so that you can not fall in the same pitfalls. Maybe if they didn't have much luck in the past, you're kind of protecting yourself against doing the same mistakes. If they've been very successful in the past, then you'll know kind of how to align your campaign and maybe do it a little differently so that it's not the same as the last campaign too. Competitors, again, you might even add in your creative brief the actual logos of the competitors, and so that you can see, or even campaign pieces of the competitors, so you can see kind of where they all are coming from. Color psychology, if you're looking up colors that fit with the actual brand and the campaign, you want to look into what those colors mean and if that works for your upcoming campaign. Images. You can look up mood board images that you like that set the mood for your new campaign. Price and trends. We kind of talked about that too. Mood boards. These are kind of like Pinterest. If you go on Pinterest, that's kind of like a big giant mood board. If you haven't been on Pinterest, I definitely recommend it. You can definitely use it for this class. And you just do search keywords and have your own board set up for this class, and look for inspirational images for your campaign and add those in there. Pin it. When you pin it, it goes right into that folder. So you're inspired by what you see, maybe typefaces, color, imagery, arrangement of images, materials, pieces of text, intended to evoke our project particular style or concept. So it's very inspirational. Designers put together a mood board with key images, words, colors, other design examples that best convey the essence of the brand. And you could do this in your personal life. I've been on Pinterest, and when you're ready to paint a room or decorate a room, you can go in there and start putting all the colors that you like, that you've seen, saw on the site, different styles that you like. So you can be inspired by that. You're not necessarily going to totally copy it, but you're inspired by it. Okay, I'm going to take a 5-minute break here before we go on. I'll meet back here and we'll go through the rest of this. So 5 minutes, I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So the word campaign is defined as an operation, military or political, that is confined to a particular area or involves a specific type of fighting, and that is intended to achieve a particular goal. We're talking about advertising campaigns. It is essential that we do what we do in design, minus the fighting portion. A campaign is a sustained effort that is slightly beyond your day-to-day business, but still connected to it in some way. So this is kind of, it's a story. Campaign is a story that you're telling. It's part of the brand. The campaign might be something that is temporary in regards to the time frame that it's shown, but it's basically telling a story and kind of calling out for a particular reason and a purpose. Maybe a certain event, maybe a certain special thing going on. Certain things that you want to promote for that particular brand to make note of. Ad campaign. An advertising campaign is a series of advertisement messages that share a single idea and theme, which make up an integrated marketing communication, IMC. Advertising campaigns appear in different media across a specific time frame. So you might see it in newspapers, magazines, website ads, in different mediums, in different time frames, throughout the year. The critical part of making an advertising campaign is determining a campaign theme, as it sets the tone for the individual advertisements and other forms of marketing communications that will be used. The campaign theme is the central message that will be communicated in the promotional activities. The campaign themes are usually developed with the intention of being used for a substantial period. So I'm loving it, or just do it as an example of that. Okay, so why do companies use advertising campaigns? What's the big deal here? Well, they use it to increase business, getting that word out in a different way, getting that brand out, having recognition of their brand is important. So having campaigns kind of gives it a new, fresh look, feel, new ideas coming across, same brand. Increase traffic to a store. If you want to promote a particular event, a product, a service, something that you want to highlight for a particular reason that you're seasonally maybe promoting during that time frame, that's something that you want to announce to increase traffic to a store. Announce a new business or product. Again, maybe there's an added product or service to the brand itself. So you want to make sure you're kind of doing a campaign for that to get the word out. Branding, again, recognition, etc. So what elements are included in an advertising campaign? Well, typically a vector logo, new or possibly updated. So if you're, it's a startup business, obviously it'd be a new logo. If you, just like this project that we're working on, sometimes the logo's just already developed. You're just kind of putting that within the campaign. A message, an overall theme. Again, this is what you guys are going to be coming up with for your campaign. So you need to have a message and an overall theme. Has to be consistent, so look for consistency. So everything across the pieces of different deliverables should be consistent and cohesive in regards to the design elements and the theme. Be creative. Designs, as far as designs go, copywriting and images, that should be something that needs to be unique to the actual theme and the brand. Deliverables, final cohesive projects include magazine ads, for example, billboards, promotional pieces, flyers, posters, social media ads. There's just so many different options here. Okay, sorry about that. A little sneezing event here. So there's so many different things, so many different deliverables. It could be I mean, countless different types of deliverables that you can think of. But it should be aligned to the brand. So, obviously, if it's a coffee brand, you're doing like a coffee shop, you want the deliverables to be aligned towards the target audience and what they're where they'll be seen the most, or where they will see those pieces the most. So maybe tabletop displays. As far as like other material, maybe website campaigns, website ads, even just smaller ads in little printed local publications to promote the company and brand. So it's really based upon who the client is, who the target audience is, and kind of align it based on that. Okay. What should be considered in the campaign? So message, what is the purpose, the overall theme? What are you trying to solve here? What's the message? Target audience. Definitely have to consider that. Who are they? How are you speaking to them? Deliverables, the mediums. Competition, consistency, being, obviously creative. Has to be creative campaign. Those are all kind of things that we talked about before. Print advertising. What is print advertising? So it's any advertisement that is printed via a digital or offset printing process can be considered print advertising. So magazines, newspapers, billboards, direct mail, store signage, print advertising, packaging, just all kinds of different mediums that you can print on. Decals, you saw that with mine. What do you need to know? So proficiency in design software is obviously something that you need to know. So Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign are basically the go-to design software that designers use to create campaigns, and knowledge of print production. So, when you guys go forward, you might already have experience with this, but sometimes we don't know what we don't know until we get out there. And that's kind of where my experience was. Like, I didn't have as much experience dealing with printers until I was actually in the setting. And that's something that you might experience too. But you'll deal with printers, paper stock, inks, colors. Printers are very good at, making you knowledgeable of their process. As far as paper vendors, they'll definitely as well give you a lot of examples of different paper stock, so that you're in the know and using your mediums wisely. Specs for different print formats. So you need to know beforehand, okay, what are the specs for this particular publication that this ad's going to run into? And so you'll have to look up the specs. And usually that's provided by the specific publication, direct mail, newspaper. That would be something that you would call and contact that specific newspaper. Or for the direct mail piece, it would maybe be more, you're talking to more of the post office and also your printer vendor. Typography skills and background. Typography is huge. It's not just about designing with just imagery. Typography can be something that is very powerful in itself as a design, and how you use it, and hopefully using it appropriately. Page layout, obviously, knowledge of file size, raster versus vector imaging, and what is appropriate for what format, so that you're setting up your file correctly in the best way possible. Basic understanding of photography. I've been in a lot of different situations where I've worked for publication companies or ad agencies, and they don't want to pay for a photographer. So they know, sometimes us creatives have that possible gift. And I've gone out on photo shoots on my own and actually taken photographs of my own and used it for a particular ad campaign and or publication. So it's always good to kind of have that extra knowledge. Print pros and cons. So there could be some pros and some cons to that. So pro is the cost and lifespan production. So newspaper advertising can be less expensive than advertising in other media outlets with different ad sizes and rates. Even small businesses can place an ad. Production changes can generally be made quickly. Magazines and other print media enjoy loyal audiences, and magazines may be kept around for a month or longer, which gives more exposure to their product. The pros, targeted audience. So print media provides opportunities to advertisers to reach target audiences in a local market. When you advertise your small business in local print media, you can focus your ad to fit your desired demographic. Print readers are more focused and loyal, making them more loyal to the advertising. And print offers ad buyers flexibility and more personal attention. So if that's something that you want to have within your campaign, or kind of what you're putting out there, you'll definitely want to look at print as part of your campaign. The cons, what are the bad things? So readership decline. A decline in readership of print media has occurred as more people get their information and advertising from online sources. It is generally a good strategy to spend your advertising budget where your audience is looking, and some audiences are not looking at print. Rate lead times. While it's true newspaper is a cost-effective advertising medium, when it comes to magazine advertising, especially in a national publication, the cost can be prohibitive and have long lead times, so your message may not or cannot be delivered as quickly as with other media. Cluttered landscape in print media, your ad may be packed like a sardine among other advertisements, a very common practice in print media. It may be harder for your potential customer to find or read about your product. Those are prints, pros and cons. Advertising media, screen and online. So there's web and device applications, websites, interactive media. YouTube could be a source. Web commercials could be a source. Different media sources, mobile, tablet advertising could be an option. Social networking apps, video, photo sharing sites, and online games. And it could be kind of multiple sources, mediums like this that may work very well for an ad campaign or a brand as far as advertising goes. So web advertising refers mainly to advertising on the internet. This would be the ads on your computer, phone, and other devices. Also includes social media ads. So Google AdSense, Facebook ads, banner ads, text ads, pop-up ads, YouTube ads are all an example of that. What you need to know, proficiency, and again, this is all really aligned to what we just talked about with print. The only difference being is the knowledge of HTML, web design apps, colors, specifically web versus print colors, social networking skills, website layout and design skills, a little different than print designing. I mean, it's pretty similar, but you need to know certain things are a little different when you go to print website versus print design. Site testing skills. You want to make sure, when you're designing for the web, that you're testing it so that it looks, it's viewing properly on different mediums, different screen sizes, so different browsers. That's definitely something that you'll need to know. Pros and cons of online advertising. We just looked at pros and cons of print, so let's look at pros and cons of online advertising. So one of the pros is cost. So compared to newspaper placements or TV spots, online ads are still relatively inexpensive. That's a good thing. Instant gratification. Hey, who doesn't like that, right? Your customers can see your ad, shop, and buy if you sell products online without leaving home. Testing. If you create a brochure, you have to print and distribute it before you were able to measure response. On the internet, response or lack of response is lightning fast. Also, since it's relatively simple to switch out banner ads, online advertising gives you the ability to test creative campaigns and fine-tune messaging. This can help increase effectiveness of your campaign and enhance results. There's also geo-targeting. So online advertising gives you the ability to geo-target your ads, ensuring that they are only viewed and clicked by your intended geographic and niche audience. This allows you to create localized messages that appear on national sites. So you're really having that nice target zone there. Constant exposure, your online ad works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's good. Some of the bad things, some of the cons. So advertising overload. Every advertiser wants consumer attention, and often there is simply too much information to digest. Sometimes we're so numb to it, we just don't even look at it. Measurability, so the statistics you're able to gather on your online advertising campaign are so immense that they often become too much. scope. While the vast majority of Americans are active online, there are still a number of people out there who are relying on traditional forms of advertising as a means to gather information on products and services. That's why in most cases, online advertising campaigns should run in tandem with other marketing efforts. So that's kind of important. So you might not want to do all just online, especially with different audiences. Too many choices. There's so many websites out there that it can be hard to identify the ones that will most effectively target your audience. Make sure you take the time to research the appropriate niche sites for their product or service. So what's the difference between print versus online? So in order to know what's best for your campaign, it's always good to kind of know the differences between the two. So scope, one of the biggest differences between online advertising and print advertising is the scope of advertisements. A single website or web ad can potentially reach customers anywhere in the world. The circulation of newspapers and magazines and the logistics of sending direct mailing to customers limits the number of consumers that print advertisements can reach. This means online advertising can potentially reach more customers in more places and allow small companies to do business far outside their local area. Reaching specific consumers, so small businesses often operate in market niches that appeal to specific types of customers or consumers located in specific areas. Print advertisements are usual for targeting ads to localized areas. For example, a company that operates in a small town could advertise in a local newspaper or other local publication to reach customers that are actually in its vicinity. Websites such as a social network track user locations and other personal information, which can allow businesses to make targeted online advertisements. Connecting with customers. So advertisements must connect with customers and convince them to make a purchase. Internet users often spend a few seconds or less on a web page before browsing elsewhere, which can make it difficult for an advertisement to catch their attention. In addition, web users can install ad blocking software to prevent ads from appearing on websites. Readers may spend several minutes reading each page of a newspaper or magazine, which give advertisements more time to connect with customers and influence decisions. The cost. So online advertisers allow businesses to set spending limits on ads, which lets small businesses spend precisely according to their budget. For example, a self-employed photographer could choose to buy a $50 worth of online advertisements a month. Print advertisements can be expensive. A single print ad in a local newspaper and/or magazine could cost more than $100. However, a single print ad can reach hundreds of customers, while online advertisers often charge clients for each ad click. Although print ads are more costly per advertisement. Whoops. All right. So that's pretty much, the differences between print and online, and things to think about when you're kind of going forward with any type of advertisement campaign. You want to make sure that you're using the appropriate mediums for the brand, and getting it out there for the target audience, the actual aligned target audience. All right. So this week, we're kind of at the end of my slides here. For week 1, assessment 1, you guys are going to be having, let me switch wheels here. Assessment 1, you guys are going to be having a quick 4 short essay questions for assessment 1, utilizing resources such as ProQuest, Lynda, and/or Google. So you're going to basically look up these objectives covered. So compare the difference between traditional advertising, print, outdoor, TV, radio, to non-traditional advertising, online, social media, electronic publications. Research and define 5 social impacts of advertising. Define the concept of integrated brand promotion, IBP, and the role advertising plays in the process. Be careful to read the questions, research, and answer the following 4 questions. And it says the tip here, copy and paste the questions into a Word doc. Do your research and write your answers in the Word doc. And then when you have finished, copy and paste your answers back into the quiz, then submit. You can only take this quiz 1 time, so don't submit until you're finished. Okay? So you might want to kind of refresh yourself of these 3 objectives that are covered. And again, you can go through ProQuest, lynda.com, or Google to get that information, as well as the live lectures that we're doing today. Okay. All right, so this is the point where I would ask you guys if you have any questions, because I'm doing this kind of ahead of time. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that. But if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm obviously here to help you guys, and that's what I'm here for. So I want you guys to definitely reach out to me. Okay, as we kind of I start to unwind for this lecture, I just want to go back to my Behance page real quick, because we have a couple more minutes here. I already showed you my Modal 3. A lot of these brands I created from scratch, and I just wanted to kind of maybe go through one more here just to show an example of a campaign. Here's the I Love Leash campaign that I did. This was a campaign that I actually created myself when I was a graduate student at SCAD. And I created this campaign because of an issue. We had to do a social issue that we were, passionate about. I created this when I lived in Florida, because we had a really bad issue in the community I lived in with people not leashing their dogs in public areas, which there were laws for that, but people were not following them. So I was creating a campaign to raise social awareness about this. And I explained it a little bit here. So, if you want to check it out, you can. I created the logo. So this would be the logo. This is a bumper sticker that I created. But, when I show you this stuff, keep in mind the theme that goes along with this. How consistent is it? So here it is. Love is leashing your dog. I actually created this. Let me zoom out here. This package tube that could be sent to people to raise awareness, to become activists of raising awareness as well. So this is a kit that you would get. Notice how there's like a little leash here connected to it. And you would get this, and it would include the following information. So you become your own activist for this cause. And that was kind of giving you the power to raise awareness too. So here I am showing you what's in this kit. And, there's bumper stickers. There's just funny little hearts in there with I Love Leash. There's bracelets. You can see on the right here with a tank top, cup. So this is a whole branding campaign to raise awareness for this specific issue. I actually even got my dad involved here for the mood setting of my brand campaign. These were actually photoshopped on. These were actually not even printed. So I'm just kind of doing these mock-ups to show you what it would look like. Here's bumper stickers and signs that could be stuck onto different areas here to raise awareness. But you can tell there's a definite cohesive theme, color-wise, type-wise, message-wise, for this campaign. Dog shirts, very appropriate for that. Cups, bracelets, little tags. So different things that, definitely come across as, getting more word out there of what this is. And then the people would go to iloveleash.com. This URL actually let expire, so it doesn't actually work anymore. I used to actually own that URL, and I had designed the web page to go along with this, but this was many years ago, and I don't have that anymore. But that's basically the logo, and the call out is all together. So that's a call out to, hey, find out what iloveleash.com is all about. And that could be a call out for people to read more about what this is all about. All right, so very good. I just wanted to show that to you because that really is relevant to what you guys are going to be working on in terms of creating a campaign piece with the story and keeping it cohesive, I wanted to show you a couple of things that I have done. So hopefully you enjoyed seeing that. We're just going to wrap it up. Let me know if you have any questions. And like I said, if you're kind of stuck, let me know. Send me an email. If you want me to look over anything, send me a PDF of your what you're working on so far, your brief that you're working on for assignment 1. I can give you some guidance. If not, go for it. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend if I don't hear from you. And again, thank you for being flexible with this recording. Usually this doesn't happen, but I was a little afraid of the electric going out again, so I wanted to make sure I squeeze this in here. All right, thanks, guys. Have a great day.